Also streaming at cklu.ca. You can stream us there just by clicking on the Radio Player Canada app. You can download the same Radio Player Canada app and take us with you. Listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow those particular platforms. Along with, you can find the show on demand afterwards on our website, sudbury.news. Just click on the Sudbury News Talk tab. Then we're also live on X, formerly Twitter, and not live there, but we live on demand afterwards, so you can catch the show afterwards as well. So on Facebook, you can continue the conversation by commenting if there's you're watching the show afterwards and you have something that you wanted to say. You'll be part of the conversation even if the show isn't live anymore. So make sure to comment. That's the one main thing. If you're on YouTube or Facebook is the only two places you can comment. We really encourage that. It's your conversation on your station, and I'm the facilitator of that. The show started a little over 2 years ago in this format, and we've been going since 2017 with mainly sports. So today we'll cover weather and not much to cover in sports other than the Sudbury Cubs will be in action tonight and trying to wrap up the championship, NOJHA hockey action. And so that's pretty amazing. They're looking at securing the championship there. And we'll also have news headlines. We'll have a little bit of a deep dive into what kind of the media landscape is today. I had a particular person take offense or take exception to a comment that I put up on our news page that said, where are your sources, or where are you getting this fact from? I'm doing math and it's not quite equating to the inflation that you're speaking of. Basically, it was just a meme that says the average family of four pays $11,000 more per year in basic necessities, including groceries. And they took exception to that for some reason. I guess they don't buy groceries or pay for gas or any of those things. But you know, gave me certain sources that to me prove something that I already know is wrong, and that's it's costing me a heck of a lot more money to live these days. And Elon Musk was in an interview with one of the BBC reporters, and you can really see the exchange going on there and how Elon Musk is holding the BBC, similar to our CBC, reporter accountable for their reporting. And he was saying, well, there's a lot of hate speech nowadays on Twitter, right? And you've kind of allowed more of that. And so he just said, can you give me an example? And the guy wasn't able to give him one example, right? So, but yet he's seeing way more hate speech. But okay, tell me an example. You're seeing way more of it, so tell me one example. And the guy couldn't do it. And this is a journalist who's paid money, state-run media in Britain, right? Not able to give one example, but yet goes out spewing all these things about, hate speech is increasing on Twitter. Okay, according to whom? What hate speech? And one thing I've taken exception to in our Canadian media was I noticed during the pandemic that CTV would say many Canadians, and then they would ... say this, that, or the other. And that meant that it's true because many Canadians are saying something. So what sources do they have? Notice that when you're watching CTV, many Canadians are starting to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, many Canadians, according to which study, according to what, you know what I mean? So we'll have a little example of that. If you're like, oh no, I think the BBC's, right on, they have the highest standards of journalism and they would never do anything like that. Just wait to the end of the show and we'll have the interview with Elon Musk, basically interviewing the interviewer. And it's really good turning things on them. So thanks for joining us, everyone. Let's dive right in. We'll start off with a little weather as a train goes by our studio. You might be able to hear it in the background, but yeah, it's going to be a great show because you are going to make it great. We'll be back right after this. And Sudbury weather today brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. Currently it's -4 degrees, but it feels like -8 out there. It's sunny. Today you can expect it to stay sunny, and there'll be moderate winds, high of 9. The wind chill will be -8 this morning. Tonight, clear, wind will be moderate again. And the low tonight will be a little milder than it's been the last couple nights, -9 overnight. Friday, again, sunny, and the wind will start picking up a bit, 20 kilometers gusting to 40 in the morning. High of 12, wind chill will be -9 in the morning. And here you go. Here's a look at your forecast. You got sunny and 12 tomorrow, and then periods of rain on Saturday. They're not even saying there's a chance or what are the chances. They're saying it's just definitely periods of rain on Saturday. High of 13, and then a chance of showers, 60% chance of showers on Sunday. High of 13, like we said. Okay, high of 17, 60% chance of showers on Monday. High of 12 and a 40% chance of showers on Tuesday. Then they're predicting or forecasting a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 14 on Wednesday. So other than today and tomorrow, some sun, we got some more of the wet stuff right after that. Now the satellite hasn't been able to give us a more recent picture as far as I've been able to get. The most recent picture I have on the satellite is 5 p.m. Last night. But look, they're saying it's going to be clear. This is probably what it looks like anyways. So fake news, right? And that's your weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with some news headlines, your comments, and much, much more right after this. Okay, and we are live each and every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30 on CKLU, on Facebook, on YouTube. And then afterwards, you can catch the shows not only on Facebook and YouTube on demand, also on Sudbury.news and Twitter, X, formerly Twitter. And there you go. So make sure to check out Sudbury.news, which is our local news aggregator. All news coming into one convenient location for everyone. And that's where you can catch news from Sudbury.com, CTV Northern Ontario, Sudbury Star, and Sudbury.com, CTV Northern Ontario, CBC Sudbury, and Sudbury Star. There you go. All four of those aggregating into one convenient location. So currently we have a few people on this morning. I just wanted to recognize we have, let's see here, Judy, first to the Facebook party. Good morning to you. Belinda, good morning, and a positive statement of the day. Pay attention to when your spirit doesn't sit right with someone. It's being disturbed for a reason. Surround yourself with people who wish the best for you. And that's always good advice, good suggestion. You know, there are people that basically take away our energy. You ever feel you're around somebody and you have less energy after you're with them? And then there's other people that energize you. You feel you're with them and you feel energized after either a conversation or a visit. And you have to really pay attention to these things. Now, you have to go even deeper to think, well, maybe you're the energy someone else needs at a certain time. Maybe if someone's a downer one day, you don't just totally ditch them, you know. But if it's a constant thing and it's never changing and there's nothing you can do about it, possibly. You got to look out for number one before you can help out anyone else, right? You got to make sure your batteries can be charged in order to help charge other people's batteries. So really good advice. Just pay attention to that. Go with your gut always. Your gut is never wrong. And David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Same to you, David and Marianne. Good morning, everyone, from sunny but cold Barrie. Liked and shared as usual. And Liette, thanks for the video you sent today as well, or yesterday. Really appreciate that. Keep it coming. I believe it was on cloud seeding, and we may save that for tomorrow's show. Breaking in the mainstream now, talking about they won't want to call it chemtrails because that's a conspiracy theory that doesn't really happen according to all mainstream media, right? But according to reality, it does. So now it's being introduced as cloud seeding and weather manipulation. Really not harmful for anyone. It's just, don't worry about it. It's just a little or weather manipulation. But thanks for that video from Global News. Really appreciate it. Good morning from Collingwood, formerly from Sudbury. That's probably why you were interested in the show in the first place, I would think, Liette. And Mike Parent, he's our Ward 5 councillor here in Sudbury. Good morning. Good Thursday morning, friends, exclamation point. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for being on. And Sheila, unfortunately, these days, hate speech is seen as being against the narrative that is being talked about. So what you mean by that, Sheila, and good morning to you, is that many people may be in positions of power. You've heard that term, speaking truth to power, before, and it used to be good when the people who are in power right now used to not be in power. So there was like speaking truth to power, get these guys out of power so we can get in. And now that they're in, they say, oh, it's hate speech if you say anything wrong against us. It's not speaking truth to power. We're the power, so we must be right. And anything against us is hate speech. So little, in a nutshell, kind of history lesson there of what's been going on the last few years. Belinda, my government that forces poverty on its people is criminal. We trust at all levels of government to have our best interest. All I see is failures at all levels. And I don't think you're alone in that observation or feeling, Belinda. Maurice, good morning with an exclamation point and a smiley emoji. Thank you very much for that. Good morning to you as well. Marianne, exactly. They make thieves out of necessity of survival and then punish them. Yeah, we live in a very interesting world, as you can tell. And people are more and more passionate about what they feel the world is, why it is the way it is, and how it should be. And as we ramp up the conversation on all sides, it basically calls for, I guess, a medium or somebody to be able to make sense of it all or something, or have some platforms that actually can find ways, some common ground, let's say, for people on all sides to be able to look at things. But unfortunately, I don't see that coming in our future. I don't really see that as much as I want that, as much as I'll do my best to try to do that. Myself, even, I have a hard time always maintaining that. Brian, good morning. Top of the morning, Sudbury campers. Don't forget to file your taxes. Other countries are depending on you. You've said that a couple times before, Brian, and it never gets old. So really appreciate it. And just a reminder to file your taxes. I think the end of April is the deadline, right? So if they aren't in now, they're going to be late. So anyways, really appreciate that comment, and it's very true. Good morning from Espanola, Denise. Good morning to you, Debbie. Good morning, smiley emoji. Denise says, May the 3rd to 5th, the military will be performing wellness checks in Goderich, Ontario. Sounds great, doesn't it? That's interesting. Why wellness checks from the military in Goderich? I don't know. That's just a question that comes to mind. Many people would say, oh, that's nice of the military to do wellness checks in Goderich. My mind just says, why? For what? And why is the military doing wellness checks? Anyways, thanks for that. Marianne says, I hope the whole city goes on vacation for those few days. Yeah, on who and why, exactly. It's Sheila asking the same questions as I have. Liette says, hate speech is the new censorship. Who will be the definers of hate? So that's exactly what Elon Musk asks in that interview where he's interviewing the interviewee. So pay attention to that a little bit later on after local news headlines. Very well positioned question, right? So hate speech. So what is hate speech? Who defines it? And he brings out some good points in the video as well, right? So he says, what is hate speech here? He says, I've seen more hate speech on my Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And then he backtracks and says, oh, actually, I haven't been on my Twitter for like 3 months because there is so much hate speech. He goes, well, tell me what the hate speech was before you got off it. And he couldn't. And then he says, define hate speech. He goes, there's a little more of this. There's some sexism. It's a little more sexist. And he goes, okay, so you want a little more sexist to be defined as hate speech? So anyone who's a little more sexist should be taken off? Like, where does it end? Like a little more of this, a little more of that. Okay, take that off. And then eventually no one's allowed to say anything. And that's the desire of a group of people that are out there. They don't want people to be able to speak. They don't want you to be able to influence other people other than what they are influencing you for. There is a group of people out there like that, right? And a lot of them tend to be in positions of power where they're able to make things like that happen. And you don't want that at all, because silence can serve a group of people better than free speech. And so you have to ask yourself, who are these people who silence serves them better than free speech? And do I want to be part of that gang? I don't myself. I think just being able to have a conversation is really therapeutic, if anything, and great for mental health. If that's a buzzword of these days, it's really great for mental health to be able to share your point of view and to have others share their points of view and to do it in a respectful way, right? And so there is a group of people that just wants to go out and say, your point of view, I think, is hate, and I want to shut you down. And then again, so whose definition are we using for hate, and who's going to shut it down and why? And yeah, and where does it end? Where does it end? Like, why can't I say I don't like somebody? Is that hate speech? Well, it's going to be. It's going to be. Justin Trudeau is doing everything he can to make that happen by passing actual bills. And one of them was to censor the internet in the name of helping Canadian content creators make more money. But at the end result, you just have to look at what the end result of his bills were, is that you can't share news on Facebook or Instagram. The one largest platform that has the most amount of people on it, social media, which is Facebook, we're not allowed to share information in the name of news on that platform. I don't even know why this show, we're even talking about it, is still allowed. You got me. You probably have more of an answer than I do about that. I have no idea why that is. But it's probably not real news, right? So they don't consider this real news. Which it isn't. We're talking about the news. So we're trying to make sense of the news. Denise, these people are more powerful than the people in Power One. Oh, these people are more powerful than the people in Power One Day. I hope we figure this out for Canada. TikTok. Okay, meaning time is ticking? I'm not sure. So Marianne says, I believe those are steps towards the New World Order, the NWO, which used to be a conspiracy theory, but now it's just a matter of everybody's saying it. We need a New World Order. We need a great reset. We need somebody to step up and change things for everybody. Because they normally don't do these exercises, just saying. So that is the military wellness checks in Godridge, probably you're referring to. Belinda says, nobody from the city has ever commented on the cloud seeding that has littered our skies since last summer. Well, since last summer, it's been going on for years. I find it hard to believe they haven't seen them in the skies. Tic-tac-toe clouds are not normal. Tic-tac-toe clouds are not normal, for sure. We all see it, but you go on Google, speaking of misinformation or, the powers that be just telling other people they're wrong and they're right. Well, they call that a conspiracy theory. When you look up and you see those straight lines all over the place, you don't see that. It's a conspiracy theory that you're seeing that. And if you go on Google and you put in what's called chemtrails, you put chemtrails into Google, you'll see all the things that come up are chemtrail theory debunked, chemtrail conspiracy theory. And if you read some of the articles and you feel like puking after, I don't blame you, but they're all done from mainstream media, from environmental activists / journalists that for some reason, I don't know why, they should be petrified of what they're putting into the skies if they're real environmental activists. But they're probably paid to be journalists and write certain stories. They probably get funding for their work from certain people that want that to be a conspiracy theory. I guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing. All I know is it's real, and you're a journalist and you're not doing real journalism, and you're just debunking something that you see with your own eyes in the sky. It's craziness, the world we live in. It's like it's day outside. They're saying, no, it's night. It's conspiracy theory that the sun's shining. There is no sun. It's not shining. It's a conspiracy theory. It's about that blatant. You know what I mean? Instead of doing real journalism and trying to figure out, like Liette sent me today, at least Global News is saying, they're starting, just in the last couple of years, they're starting cloud seeding. It's been around since forever when there's been planes. It's been like, we've shown that to people on the show. They've been weather manipulating forever, and cloud seeding and throwing things into the atmosphere for a long time. No, it's not just in the last couple of years. Agreed, and the police are taking special course on force against the public. Our silence was consent. We practically invited them here. Here are be nice, don't make waves. Yeah, okay, so I'm just reading the text. I should try to translate a little bit better. So basically you're saying, because we were silent, now we have the bed we're going to lie in. We made our own bed. Marianne says, I guarantee they know cloud seeding and the patents have been around since the 1800s. Yes, so when I said way back, that's how long ago the idea's been out there and they've been doing it. So yeah, it's not just in the last couple of years. Brian says, wellness checks by the military. Here comes Canada's version of martial law. Now, I wonder how you feel about that, Brian. You know, you're military yourself, right? So you're a veteran. Does that sound alarm bells off for you that the military is going around doing wellness checks, you know? Marianne says, I wonder how much AI contributes to hate speech. True, right? You can just put fake stuff out there to shake things up if you're on a certain side. Say, look how hateful that was. Meanwhile, it wasn't even a person. We need to shut that down, you know? It's interesting, you know? Depends what side you're on, what you're willing to do. It's similar to the fires that we had all summer. You know, people say, global warming, that's why we had so many fires. But do you know how many arsonists were caught setting fires during last summer in Australia and in Canada? It's a lot of arsonists were apprehended for committing arson, for starting fires. So if I forget the number, like it's in the teens anyways. And so that many arsonists were going around deliberately starting fires in fire season. So they were caught. I wonder how many out there weren't caught. So how many of those fires were attributed to arsonists? You don't hear that in the mainstream news because that's not part of what they want to push. They want to push your planet is dying. Look at how global warming is threatening our society. We need to do drastic change, and we need to do it now. And that means total government control over everything. Because of all this is going on, for your safety, we need to assume control of everything. And then you have to give your head a shake and say, don't worry. I'm good in control of my life. I don't need you to be in control. Thank you. I can be pretty much in control of my life. Thank you very much. So it's the same thing, right? With you put out, if you have an agenda to shut down a platform, you could just create a bunch of fake accounts and put just terrible things on there and say, see how hateful everybody is? It needs to be shut down. Meanwhile, it's all you doing it, right? It's like you own a virus software company. And a great way to get more customers is to create a virus. You don't think that's happened before? You don't think? You know, I know for a fact, people sit around the table in the banking industry and say, you know what, if we actually made a mistake and charged everyone an extra cent a month by accident, that could create a couple $1 million extra revenue every year. And if people find out that, they were charging them an extra cent a month or whatever that is for whatever thing, we'll just say, oh, sorry, our mistake. And so that will be maybe 5% of the population. And so, yeah, we still made lots of money. That happens. It does. It's a fact. Okay, so it's the world we live in. Just be aware of things. So, Miles, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Search for permits. That is Sheila. And maybe I'm getting a little behind on the comments here. So a city in Quebec has implemented the first 15-minute city that requires a QR code. Okay, well, that's interesting. I thought 15-minute cities was a conspiracy theory. So that must be interesting. So if anyone wants to look up city in Quebec that requires QR codes and then link it to what the idea of a 15-minute city is, you can see for yourself. You don't have to take anyone else's word for it, if that is true or not. And then if you find out that it's true and you tell a coworker at work and you go, oh, look what I found. They go, that's a conspiracy theory. You'll know kind of what it feels like when you do find out things for yourself and then you try and tell other people and they don't find out for themselves, and then they tell you're one of those. It's like, you're one of those people that CBC tells me that are out there that do their own thinking. Oh, okay. Belinda says, first fascinate the fools, then muzzle the intelligent. That's how censorship is done. Very eloquently put. Now, CBC Media have been linking Poilievre with conspiracy theorists. That was on yesterday, yeah, and extremists, because he went over and went to a rally, right, where people were protesting against Trudeau, and I guess they had an F Trudeau flag there, which CBC really wanted to point out. They are getting desperate to muddy his name as he rises in the polls, and that is exactly what it is. So, I thought Justin Trudeau used to get on side with protesters. He used to go on the streets, whoever was protesting, he was the guy, right? Like, he was the man of the people, until there was a group of people that were protesting things that he didn't agree with. And now they're misogynists and conspiracy theorists and, all these things, right? And then he says he didn't say those things. He said it in French. Maybe he just said, I didn't say those things in English, right? So I guess you can get around it somehow if you say things in another language. I have no idea. We live in a globalist world, and the problem is the powers that be failed to inform the people to what these new foreign agendas and policies being implemented, and without citizens' consent or vote, are beneficial to who? And you know what? You say they don't tell people. However, it is in plain sight, hidden in plain sight. It's on their websites. They do publish reports and their goals. They're all there, right? It's something they have to do. They have to kind of inform people so that way afterwards they go, we told you, we had the report there. You could have read it the whole time, Marianne says it's a good thing that some have been awake for many years because they're wiping out information, and Google is not always trusted. Just saying, LOL. Yeah, no, it's not. So if you punch in something I know to be true, and that's geoengineering, it's happening. You look up in the skies, maybe not for today or yesterday, that much, but just look at the plane that goes by and it leaves its exhaust in the sky forever. It doesn't go away, and then it turns into a cloud. And ask yourself, if you're above the age of 40, let's say, if when you were a kid and you'd look up in the sky, if that's what was going on. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't. I was a sky gazer as a child, always looking up at the sky, constantly daydreaming about things and contemplating things and watching planes. And there was never a huge exhaust that covered the whole sky ever. Not once. Never, not once, ever. Okay? So now it's normal. I had a video I was going to play of a guy who was paid millions of dollars to go back into Disney films and put chemtrails in to the films in the 30s and stuff, so that way people could think, oh yeah, that's always been around, into old movies and stuff, because you don't see that in the movies in the old ones. So he was paid to go back and actually CGI them into movies. Craziness. I'll find that video. One of the viewers sent that to me. Thanks, Sarah, for that. For the link to the Godridge military wellness check. So anyone can go on that and click on it and learn for yourself what it is, right? Let's not speculate. And the only reason there's conspiracy theories out there is that people don't connect the dots. Like they don't give you, if they don't fill you in, it's like the Michael Vagnini, right? Going missing and for 2 weeks and some days, 2.5 weeks almost. And he was last seen on a certain street, and then 2.5 weeks later almost, he's found 2 streets over. Now, where that area is, the 2 streets over could be like a mile away or whatever, 2 miles away. However, 2 streets over, that's where he's found. And all of the police services, all of the resources we had were out searching and everything and couldn't find him there. Give me a break. There's lots of mysterious things with that. So if you don't connect the dots and you don't give real information to somebody, they are going to speculate stuff. And then you're going to hear all things under the sun. And you think, oh, yeah. Oh, that's how, oh, yeah, look at you. You're going out and you're just spreading disinformation and stuff. But no, you don't have the information to begin with. So you're trying to fill in the information with what you got. And the people that are in charge of doing that aren't giving you any information. The reason for the death, we were told that we were going to find out the reason, at least how he died. And then the reason was medical causes. So what is that? What does that leave you doing? You know what I mean? He died from medical causes. Well, that fills in all the blanks for you. Obviously, you know exactly how he died. It's just, yeah. And I'm using an example just from our own city that we can understand why there's conspiracy theories out there. So if anyone can tell me and fill in the blanks of how that happened, how he went missing 2 streets over for 2.5 weeks, and we had every single organization that we possibly could have with helicopters and drones and feet on the ground looking for him. And apparently he was just 2 streets over and he was there. And he wasn't driving his truck because we were pinging it through the satellite. His truck was off the whole time. He wasn't driving it. So what? You know what I'm saying? And then the Sudbury police come out and say, I'd just like to congratulate all of the search and rescue people and all the people in all the departments for doing such a great job, and we located him. Really? Honestly? You think? Wow, that's interesting. People must think people are, people in positions of these, people in these positions think other people are pretty dumb. Like they just don't, like what world do you live in when you think that's common sense, that's, acceptable? It's just not. There needs to be answers, but no one's even talking about it anymore. It's gone. It's done. Next. Anyways, so that's a little bit of a rant on that and conspiracy theories and people blaming other people for their conspiracy theories and this. Oh, if it's true, CBC will tell me. You know what I mean? Give me a break. A list of shows, patents go back to the 1800s. They lie. It's been around everyone's whole life. There you go. In different forms. I just think it's globally done, in the last, 20, 30 years. But before that, it was just geographically, it was limited to geographical areas. I was watching this morning, it was French, that they couldn't believe their community without a QR code. It's already starting. So you're watching it in French. Okay. Well, being from Quebec, the 15-minute city is what you're talking about, right? So Build Back Better. How about the elected representatives explain to their constituents that this agenda entails, what this agenda entails, Not conspiracy theory. Trudeau, Klaus Schwab, King Charles, and many more introduced on the mainstream media during COVID. A small window of opportunity to implement. Why in secrecy? For sure. They had a small window to implement the Great Reset, right? You'll own nothing. You'll be happy. What's that all about? Mark, good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. Marianne says, right? Imagine having to prove you live where you live. Yeah, with a QR code. Yeah. But it's for your safety, I'm sure. I'm positive it's for your safety. Because, now you know what people are in your city, right? So, Magdalene Islands, there is quite an uproar about it. Oh, interesting. Okay. And good day, Monique. Thanks for being with us. Okay, now we're going to have to just kind of start off with the all this talking and conversation. We'll just have to get into some news, and you'll be interested to know that the CBC is covering that the city of Greater Sudbury says the number of people living outdoors and unsheltered is higher than ever. The city of Greater Sudbury says it's seeing more people living rough in encampments or simply unsheltered than ever before. Now, does that surprise anybody, right? Now, that story is on CBC here in town. So you'll just head on to our website, sudbury.news, check that out. And do you think there's more people that are experiencing homelessness these days? I think it's pretty apparent. And, it's a reason why a lot of people are very mixed on what's going on downtown. A lot of people don't want to go downtown. They don't feel safe, right? So maybe these QR codes can come to Sudbury, and then if you're experiencing homelessness, you don't get a QR code and you're not allowed to enter the city. So maybe it's like a digital wall that surrounds the city. And, if you don't have your QR code, then there's homeless encampments around the city, right? And they're just not allowed in. So you don't see it going on. Maybe that's one of the benefits of the QR code, right? Or what they're saying are benefits of the QR code. Sudbury.com has a couple of interesting stories here. So the city puts the brakes on capital work at municipal ski hills despite passing a successful resolution to hit the brakes on capital projects at the city's 2 municipal ski hills pending review. Ward 6 Councillor Renee Lapierre clarified that they aren't closing, at least, not necessarily. This report doesn't suggest to close anything. We're just trying to access the user numbers, what capital assets are required at those sites for renewal, and projections of renewal for the next 5 to 10 years. So he told Sudbury.com after this week's Community and Emergency Services meeting, at which his motion passed unanimously, said from there, maybe staff will have recommendations for alternate use. Maybe it's a different type of lift that we'll use in one place or another. During the meeting, Ward 9 Councillor Deb McIntosh also suggested the review determine whether user fees are adequately covering the ski hill's expenses. Bang on. That's what it really should be. So if I'm going to use a ski hill and I'm using it, it should be self-sufficient as much as possible. The money I pay to use the ski hill goes towards the maintenance and the upkeep of the ski hill. And if it needs a little bit of extra help, just here and there, with the main goal of eventually getting it self-reliant, should be the goal, right? So again, the idea of a toll road and taxes. You get on that toll road, you pay whatever it costs to get on the toll road, and all the money that you give to that toll road goes exclusively to the upkeep and maintenance of that toll road, right? Same idea for the ski hill. Now you might say, well, it's not enough people in town to pay for it or whatever. You got to be going towards that goal somehow, though. Maybe you need a little bit of help, but you got to eventually reach that goal. Speaking of roads, and the speed limit for part of Highway 69 is about to rise to 110 kilometers an hour. So this is my kind of beef with the city lowering all the speed limits with the notion that speed kills and that you need to lower the speed limit all the time instead of increasing traffic flow and helping people get to where they're going in the city. We are holding people back and telling them to drive slower and punishing them and you know what I mean? So it's an interesting concept. all in the name of just safety, right? Like it's for your safety, but we don't see any of the numbers of why it's unsafe in the first place. So this is on Highway 69. You'll soon be able to drive a bit faster, legally that is. On Highway 69, as the Ontario government expands the number of 400 series highways with posted speed limits of 110 per hour. 10 additional sections of 400 highways will see the limit increase. Locally, 60 kilometers Highway 69 from Sudbury to French River will see the speed hike. Ontario said the expansion is justified after testing the increase on 6 sections of highway starting in 2022. So this is a quote from them. Most of Ontario's highways were originally designated to safely accommodate speed limits of 110. And the data from our changes in 2022 shows they do just that, said Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria. And this evidence-based increase are a common sense change to make life more convenient for Ontario drivers while bringing our highway speed limits in line with other Canadian provinces. So again, right, there's an argument to be made on safety as well. My brother said that there was BC did a extensive research on the idea of increasing their speed limits, and that it was shown to be safer the more you increase the speed. That's according to their research, right? So I don't buy the argument that speed itself kills people. I think people can get frustrated when people are driving too slow as well, and that causes people to make driving decisions that then increase the chances of danger or being unsafe. There's many factors other than just speed in terms of safety. Now, we can look to other countries and other provinces for that information, and that seems what the government of Ontario has done, and they're increasing the speed limits on the highways between here and Toronto in some areas. And I'm all for that. All for that. Okay, so we've talked about, the media and, do they always tell us the truth? I don't know. And I would love to have just different reporters. When I'm listening to CBC, like yesterday's story with Justin Trudeau and Poilievre was at a rally. And so CBC just asks Justin Trudeau how he feels about that. They didn't ask Pierre Poilievre about anything. They just took a clip from him there. And and that's about it. So I find a lot of bias in it. And here's an example of it. Elon Musk, he's a kind of successful entrepreneur. I mean, pretty successful. He's done a thing or two. He's seen a thing or two. He knows a thing or two. And he definitely knows a thing or two about interviewing, because he ends up turning this interview around to the interviewer of the BBC, similar to our CBC. This interview is very telling of a lot of things. And so, it's to do with increased hate speech, apparently, right? So here's the media. You would think from what you hear on the media, there is increased hate speech everywhere. It's rampant. We got to do something about it, right? Have you heard that or have you not, right? It's like looking up and seeing these trails all in the skies. Have you seen it or have you not, right? So you're thinking for yourself. That's a great thing. So you've heard that there's increased hate speech going on out there, and we need to do something about it, right? So let's look at a very seasoned, paid by the state reporter in Great Britain who is questioning Elon Musk about this hate speech, which he's promoting on his platform, obviously, right?
That's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC?
You're literally asking me?
Yes.
Well, no, you
are
the arbiter on Twitter, because you own Twitter.
Yes, I'm saying, who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information? The point at which you say that there is, this is misinformation, like, who is going to decide that?
You accept that misinformation can be dangerous, that it can cause real-world harms, that it can potentially cause...
Yes, and the point I'm trying to make is that the BBC itself has, at times, published things that are false. Do you agree that that has occurred?
I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true.
Correct.
In its, whatever it is, 100-year history, I'm quite sure.
Yes. Even if you aspire to be accurate, there are times when you will not be.
We've spoken to people very recently who were involved in moderation, and they just say there's not enough people to police this stuff, particularly around hate speech in the company. Is that
What
something
hate
that you
speech
want
are
to
you talking
address?
about? I mean, you use Twitter.
Right.
Do you see a rise in hate speech?
I mean,
But just a personal anecdote, like what do you? I don't.
personally, for you, I would see I get more of that kind of content. Yeah, personally, but I'm not going to talk to the rest of for the rest of Twitter.
You
But
see more
personally,
hate speech personally.
I would say I would see more hateful content in that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't use. Honestly, I
You
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why. Because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore. Because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
and
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on
my
a second.
following.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
Well, then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was... there are many organisations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed or not, I mean, right? And
literally can't name.
See, that's what journalists are doing these days. They say many people say this, or many people, and there's no real sources behind that news. He's saying many organizations are saying this. That's all he said, and he can't name one of the organizations that are saying it. So how is that real news from a real journalist from a state-run media outlet, right? So, yeah, you got to start questioning where your news is coming from and think for yourself.
Something like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
Look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as I already said, I don't use that feed. But
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know this hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Wow.
COVID misinformation.
Amazing.
You changed the COVID misinformation.
Has
rules.
BBC changed its COVID misinformation?
The BBC does not set the rules on Twitter, so I'm asking you.
No, I'm talking about the BBC's misinformation about COVID.
I'm literally asking you about, you changed the labels, the COVID misinformation labels. There used to be a policy, it then disappeared. Why do that?
Well, COVID is no longer an issue. Does the BBC hold itself at all responsible for misinformation regarding masking and side effects of vaccinations? And not reporting on that at all? And what about the fact that the BBC was put under pressure by the British government to change its editorial policy? Are you aware of that?
This is not an interview about the BBC.
Oh, so. You thought it wasn't?
I see now why you've done Twitter Spaces. I am not a representative of the BBC's editorial policy. I want to make that clear.
This is why LA turned into a real-life zombie nightmare.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
This new flesh...
The next video plays right away. Forgot, I got to catch the videos right away. So that's an example of just real conversations. And with a real journalist, I think more of that needs to happen. I think real journalists need to sit down with those people that are like a you could picture the leader of the opposition sitting down with a CBC reporter. Basically, you remember that video with him and an apple? He was eating the apple, and he's asking the CBC reporter similar things, right? You need to see more of that kind of exchange because it's really telling. It shows you, the state of our media. So CBC here in Canada is no different than the BBC there. So we got, I think this is what the video is. I didn't even look at it first, but I'm pretty sure this is it. So here we go. Let's hope the volume's up.
Left wing, this and that, right wing, it's that type of ideological spectrum.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, I
don't really believe in that.
Okay. A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
But
what are you talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a page? Give me the page. You keep saying that.
In terms of turning things quite dramatically, in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this, why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense.
In terms of your...
Yeah, so there you go. So that was all that I can find now on YouTube. You can't find the whole interview on YouTube. It's just little clips here and there, and you'd think that would be up there, but it's gone. So you can just find snippets of it. But the whole interview was very telling, similar to the Elon Musk BBC interview, and this CBC reporter's like, yeah, you're taking a page out of the Donald Trump campaign book, the way you're doing things. He goes, okay, well, like what? Well, but he doesn't know anything, like Donald Trump is doing. Okay, like what exactly? What thing are you talking about? Well, many people are saying this and that and the other. What people are saying this? Some people say that. So this is a bona fide journalist speaking to somebody. It just shows you how watered down and how biased, obviously, they are. And they're activists is what they are. They're privy to a certain political side and not the other. And you can hear it in their reporting. It's very clear. But the people that are also on that side don't hear it because it's music to their ears, right? It's like candy. They just believe everything they hear because it's exactly what they would say if they were doing the reporting, because they themselves are biased because they have political leanings. But you really notice it if you don't have the same political leanings as the other ones. Now, what I think is real reporting is if, like back in the days when Stephen Harper was in power, the CBC actually did reporting. Like they actually held that government to account because they weren't of the same political side as the government. So it seemed better. It seemed right because here's a left-wing stance going against a right-wing government. At least you felt, okay, good. The media is doing its job. It's trying to find out things about the government to hold them to account. But they were just doing that because they didn't want that government in power, not because they just wanted to hold any government to account. And once their government got in, gonzo, they don't do it anymore. They don't hold that. They keep holding the opposition to account. And it's not the opposition that's doing anything that's affecting our lives at all. Like they don't. They argue in House of Commons and that's about it. But it's the government that's in power that's actually affecting our lives, right? So, all right. And what's also affecting our lives is great CKLU programming. Immediately following this show is Earshot Daily. So thanks for being with us, everyone. Our time is far spent. The day we all got to get off and go to our day, and we've got things to do, people to see, money to make, I guess, and put food on the table. As expensive as it is, at least we still got food for the time being, and it may not be there for that much longer. So you never know, right? Just be thankful for what you have when you have it. You don't know what tomorrow brings. So thanks for being with us, everyone. We'll see you same time, same place, God willing, tomorrow. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.